Hello and welcome to the Pugsley Crew Reviews Podcast, where we discuss all manner of films. They're good, we'll watch them. They're bad, we'll watch them. We don't care, we just like watching films. And then talking about them.
Yeah.
This week, we have returning guest, Per 9000. How you doing, Kurt?
I'm not bad, thanks. How are you?
Doing well. Doing well. Been playing some video games. But other than that, I haven't been doing much else. I've been playing Moving Out 2. Have you played any of the Moving Out games?
No, I've heard good things about them, but not something I've ever got round to.
Good to play. Good to play with a person like your missus or daughter or someone.
Yeah, I've been playing the Mario vs Donkey Kong Switch game with a missus, which is pretty decent if you just want some pick up and play. Nice little levels, quick bash.
That's fair. What do you call it? Moving Out 2 is very similar to Moving Out. Nah, it's the same kind of game as like Overcooked and Speed Crew, those sort of games where it's like co-op, fun little challenges per each level, and yeah, it's good fun. Except for when you're not allowed to smash windows because it's hard work not smashing windows. Anyway, the film we're watching today is we watched for today is Barbie, as in the 2023 film Barbie. Because like I don't know if there's another film called Barbie, but there are other Barbie films. Like I think they're usually animated, but like
Yeah.
well, just so people know, it's the newest one. And I chose this one simply because I thought it would be interesting to look at, because I heard that it was supposed to be a decent film. So, the film is basically about Barbie, because it's a Barbie film, and it's basically Barbie is happy, and then all of a sudden she's not, and then she has to sort her life out.
Yeah.
So it's the way you best put it. Basically, film started off as typical Barbie. It kind of plays into the whole Barbie. She lives in her dream house. There's no running water. There's nothing in the cups when she's drinking because, that doesn't happen with the toys. You don't have running water in the showers and all whatever else, I assume. So it's kind of like her world is kind of mirrored to the actual dolls. That makes any sense?
Yeah.
Like when she wants to go in her car, she just floats down to her car because that's what would happen. The person would take the way out of the house and just plonk her in the car. She wouldn't make you walk down steps and then out through the front door and whatever, that kind of thing. So I get that. That's actually a nice little spin. You would have just thought they would have not done that, but they did. But obviously you've got Ken in there as well. Lots of Kens, lots of different Barbies. Ken seems to be just there.
That's one of the things that makes this film incredibly complicated to talk about, is that 70% of the characters in it are called Barbie, and then another 20% of the characters are called Ken.
Yeah.
And have you seen how he's acting? He's good, isn't he? Who? Ken. Which Ken? So even me and my missus started giving them sort of names. There was Main Ken, Shang-Chi Ken, Doctor Who Ken. Obviously, because the one that Shang-Chi Ken was Shang-Chi in the Marvel film. Doctor Who Ken, Ncuti Gatwa. But you kind of have to do it to be able to go through it.
Yeah, I think if you were more familiar with Barbie stuff, you probably know the differences in the Kens, because one of the main Ken, Ryan Gosling, he's Beach Ken, And it's like,
Yeah.
you know, it's a misconception. People think I'm a lifeguard, but I'm not. My occupation is beach. And I was like, what? That was funny.
I did notice a few little trivia nuggets in there. Like, there was a doll that was Skipper, who I think is supposed to be like Barbie's younger sister or something.
Mm.
There was Midge, which is Barbie's pregnant friend.
Yeah.
The one that was the comedy lad, I can't remember his name. Summit Sarah or something, is it?
Oh,
Real
Michael
name?
Cera. Michael Cera or something.
He was Alan, who was introduced years ago as Ken's friend and then reintroduced as Midge's husband. But he's like one that's never really lasted. So I think, you know, if you're a geek for this sort of stuff, there was enough little in things like that would probably appeal to that market.
Yeah, like when Rob Brydon showed up and he was Sugar's daddy.
Yeah.
And the one was like, the Sugar daddy? No, this is Sugar and I'm her daddy. It's like, what?
I thought that was quite a good joke bit, that.
Yeah. But it was I actually enjoyed it. I get like a lot of people are like, oh, it's all feminism and stuff. It's not just about feminism though. The film, if you ask me, there's a lot in there about self-discovery and stuff. Like the whole thing with all the Kens. Like the thing like near the end with Barbie, she's like, you know, maybe you want to discover who you are to Ken. And that was, I think that's more about self-discovery than any particular, you know, feminism and that sort of thing. Obviously there are feminist themes and that's perfectly fine. I mean, I don't care, but in the sense of you shouldn't have them. That's cool. But I think the film is more about being true to yourself, discovering who you are more than a particular one way or the other, if that makes sense.
I mean, I think it did. There was a little bit at the start. It started off very much like a documentary with in the beginning there was doll stuff. Then it kind of skewed into looking a bit like a sort of feminist propaganda. But like you said, ultimately, I think it goes the gamut of doing that a society all male obsessed and male runs wrong, and a society all female obsessed and is wrong, and that you've all got to be yourself and value the person and self-discovery. So I think you're only going to really see it at the end of it as feminist if you are one of those guys who's constantly complaining that we're being brainwashed and losing our society and the kind of people they take the pay out of on South Park.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a good message, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Before you go looking for relationships and before you look for jobs and partners to validate you, work out who you are. And, you know, it's a good something to sneak in for what effectively kids will see.
Yeah. I did like it when they went to the real world and they like walked up to some construction workers like, oh, let's see what these women are going to say. And they're all men, obviously. Yeah. And they're like, oh, hey, woohoo. And he's like, she's like, I don't have a vagina and he doesn't have a penis. We have no genitals. And I was like, wait, what? I was not expecting that. Like,
no.
Yeah, that made me laugh. I genuinely did find this film actually rather fucking funny a lot of the time. There were many times I did laugh.
I like Depression. I think there's an advert for Depression Barbie in it.
Yeah.
And it's anxiety and mild panic attacks sold separately or something like that. I was like, oh, wow.
It's really good. It even rips the piss out of Mattel, who obviously own Barbie.
Yeah.
But it's like... I'm surprised by it because you wouldn't have thought they would allow it.
I suppose, though, it's a good company image to sort of be seen that you can take a joke, isn't it? I think they see it in that light, that we can show ourselves as not being too uptight, will allow a bit of ribbing.
Yeah. Well, it's like when Barbie went to the Mattel place and she's talking to them, it's like, oh, so any female CEOs and all that sort of stuff, and it's like, well, we had two at some point. It's like, what?
And he goes, so what is it? I'm a son of a mother, and I know women and something like that. And you're just like, oh wow.
It's a daft film. Like, it's got lots of different themes running through it. There is a feminist point of view in there. But I don't think the main focus is that. I think it does, like, tackle that, but it's not a men suck kind of thing. It's more women should be treated better. That's the kind of thing it shows. But it also shows self-discovery, as we said. But then there's also, like, family ties there, like the mother and daughter, like how they don't really get on at the beginning, but then they do later on. It kind of has a lot of different things there.
The daughter's reached that point where she's trying to be grown up and cool, and the mum's at that point where she's not quite willing to let go of her. And it's like a typical thing that happens in a lot of parental relationships where they're trying to get their independence and trying to act like they're 20 when they're 12.
Yeah.
And you're trying to desperately cling on, and it is about them learning to relate in a new way.
Yeah.
For her to treat her slightly older, but for her to not like piss on her mum's feelings at the same time, and
yeah.
But yeah, it's I mean, that's a very real little nugget in there in all the strangeness, something that is true that a lot of people will experience.
Exactly.
From either side, yeah.
Yeah. It's an interesting film, and it is pretty good, like, how daft it is, because it does take that, like, play kind of thing with the Barbies and the Kens. It's like they driving along, but there's no engine. They flip the car, but it flips perfectly fine and lands on its wheels, and they're perfectly fine. And then when they're traveling through these different themes to get to the real world, there's no explanation for it. And like when they're traveling back to the Barbie world, they're like, how are we doing this? And it's like, who knows? It's like, they don't know. So I think it kind of a fun film. I think it has some good points. I get people can be dickheads about it, but at the end of the day, if they're dickheads about it, then the chances are they're a dickhead.
It's not a structurally brilliant story. It's a lot of set pieces, and it's enjoyable, but it's stuck in a hard route where some jokes are a bit too kiddie, but some jokes almost seem a bit too adult.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's trying to like please all levels everywhere, and some of it you come off thinking that's funny. Some you think that's just fucking daft, and it is a very. But I mean, one thing I will say, like obviously we just had the Oscars, and all it won was Best Song, which I actually think the songs are pretty depressive. Monathon, actually, I'm not a fan, but I don't think the film really deserved any Oscars.
No.
I went into it. I'm glad to find it wasn't as crap as it could have been. I think it's a decent, enjoyable film, but I don't really get all the money and fuss it made either, if that makes sense.
I think a lot. What was you gonna say?
A lot of people have either hyped it up as the most amazing cinematic thing ever, or pulled it off as complete shit. And I kind of fall dead smack in the middle. Decent, but not groundbreaking, earth-shattering.
Yeah, I can see that point of view. I enjoyed it. I thought it was rather fun. It's not groundbreaking in many ways. I think it does kind of have varied messages that have been in other films, but I think it's done in a fun package that, is probably going to be relatable to a lot of people because it, like I said, tackles lots of different themes. But it's just, for me, I just thought it was funny. I genuinely laughed quite a bit, even at silly things like, which like, oh, you float down and go to your car. And then the second time she does it, she falls flat on her face.
Yeah, that was good.
And I also like the narration where it's like, Margot Robbie's obviously playing Barbie. She's like, "Yes, I feel ugly," and Helen Mirren is enraged, like, "No, to the casting crew, casting Margot Robbie to make this point is kind of not gonna work because she's extremely attractive." So, I think the film, it kind of pokes fun at Barbie, pokes fun at like various different other things, Mattel, patriarchy, matriarchy. And the thing is, it makes fun of itself. The film itself makes fun of the film. It seems to. So I think it comes from like a bit of a fourth wall kind of break in there. But it's genuinely fun. I've seen a lot worse films.
Oh yeah, I've definitely seen a lot worse.
So, Oscars wise, I don't know if I hadn't really thought about it. I don't really pay attention to the Oscars because I don't hear about them.
No, it's a
When
lot
you
of films
reach-
tend to be Oscar bait, don't they? They make films to intentionally tick boxes that Oscar judges will go, yes.
Well, I saw some comments by people who on the do the whole Oscar awards, like the people behind it, the people who do the voting and stuff. But like some of the comments was like, yeah, I hadn't seen the film, for whatever film, but I was told not to bother watching because it's not very good, so I didn't vote for it, and that kind of thing. So it's like even for the Oscars, it seems like there's a lot of work involved with trying to court your film getting awarded anything. It's extremely from the sounds of it, it's not like, oh, we'll genuinely watch all these films and pick the best one. It's like some of them will be watched by someone. I saw one of the quotes of someone. It's like, yeah, I didn't like the film. I didn't watch the film, but my son said it was good, so I put it up, kind of thing. Like, what?
Oh wow,
That's
where they
sort
should
of thing.
hire us. They should hire us. We'd watch everything. If it made the shortlist, even if it's 30 films, we'd watch all 30.
Yeah, and then we'd say which are shit, which are good.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that's the problem. It seems to be more. It doesn't seem to be about actually awarding films for the merits more than just awarding films for the sake of it, on the word of mouth and various other things. There's an article about it's just daft. But like, I don't know. I think this was a fun film. It isn't amazing, but I had a really good time watching it. And if you have a good time watching a film, then it's good enough.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, not my favourite film, but for example, I watched a film last night which I cannot remember the name of. That's how good it was. Which was about some woman's daughter doing sex cam work and then getting kidnapped. And I already could tell you far less about that film than Barbie, and I watched Barbie about 2 days ago. So, it's at least, it's in my mind, and it made me think things, it made me embrace it on a certain level. And there are some films that you just completely ping pong off, and you might as well have never pressed play.
Daft, innit?
Yeah. Some of they've got like a massive range of actors playing Barbie and Ken, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
When you look at the dolls, there's a massive range of dolls. You've got Barbies and Kens of various nationalities. I know Mattel made a transgender Barbie doll in 2022, and there's a transgender actress in this. The one that gets me, though, there's a lady in this, and obviously I'm spitballing here because it's off eyesight. I'd say she must be about a size 26 in UK dress sizes.
Mm.
Mattel have never done it. Mattel publicised that they were doing and I don't want to use the word that bad, but fat doll, for want of a better term, years ago, in what's called their fashionista range. Now, Barbie is typically like a model size, isn't she? So, 0 to 6 maximum.
Yeah,
This
the whole Barbie thing
fashionista
is weird.
doll must have been a 10 to 12 maximum. So, laying the cards on the table here, if you're going to have people in your film represent them, actually make a real plus-size doll, Mattel.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's plus-size kids out there, there's plus-size adults out there. Do it. If it makes money, brilliant. If it doesn't make money, it'll get you headlines, and somebody will get to keep a couple of them and make a few £1,000 in a few years' time. But that's just something that hit me.
Yeah.
Well, I know. Years and years ago, one of my exes had the first ever wheelchair-bound Barbie. And I know now that's worth a pretty penny, because they had to cancel it, because it was in a normal style wheelchair, which was so thick it couldn't go into any of the dream houses or any of the things. It would just bump up against them. So they had to re-release her in what was like a streamlined Olympic wheelchair.
All right.
And that's now like a collector's item, the old one.
That's mad.
So it's
I
like
didn't know
Lego, isn't it? If you've got the right weird bit, you're talking money.
Yeah. But yeah, we didn't really discuss the way the film pans out. It starts off with Barbie all happy, and she gets sad. She thinks that the girl who owned her is the reason why she's sad. Turns out it was the mother of the girl.
I called that one straight away.
Yeah.
That's the one thing in this I was like, it's the mum. The mum's playing with the doll. It's the mum. And I was like, yeah, I knew
it. So she goes to the real world with Ken. Ken tagged along even though he wasn't supposed to, because he's a naughty boy. And then he learns about patriarchy, but like doesn't understand it and thinks there's stuff to do with horses as well.
Oh, when he's crying on the bed at the end, and he goes, when I found out the patriarchy wasn't to do with horses, I wasn't really bothered anymore, but I got myself in too deep. I love that. That was the funniest bit to me.
It was brilliant. And again, that's the thing. It doesn't just show that, like, about feminism. It shows that it's fine to be male and cry about something and not understand things and that sort of thing. There's a lot in there to discuss. It's not just one way or the other. There's many aspects that are clearly stated. So I don't know. I don't get people sometimes. But so she goes to the real world. She comes back from the real world to Barbie Land or whatever it's called. Barbie World, Barbie Land. And she brings the mother and daughter with her. She's like, oh, this world's great. There's a woman president and all this sort of stuff. And then she goes back and the world is all fucked up. All the Barbies are like dressed up a bit slutty and they're giving all the Kens beer brewskis, as they're calling them.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And even the effect in the real world with all the different shit that's happening with like the dream house is now I can't remember the name of it.
Casa Mojo Dojo or something like that, innit?
The Mojo Dojo Casa House or something.
Yeah, because she says Casa is house in Spanish, you idiot, or something. He's like, I don't care.
And for some reason they sell in loads of them in the real world, even though there's no reason. Like, how does that happen? But obviously it all works out with the Barbies and that kind of regain control of Barbie world. But I think the main takeaway from that is like individuality, as well as, you know, everyone working as a collective. Because like, that's kind of what they discuss there. And then obviously the main thing is, like, why not just make an ordinary Barbie, just like an ordinary house mother who's a bit tired and stuff, and they're like, no. No way. I was like, oh, that'll make a lot of money. He's like, yes, we'll do that. Yeah. Yeah.
I did find the end a bit spin out though, where basically Barbie becomes a real person.
Yeah.
That seemed incredibly deep and like, you will die. I'm like, is this a kid's film or what? When you're repeatedly going, if you're human, you will die.
Well, I suppose so. A lot of ways that children learn about death, things with crap pets like goldfish, or they'll get it through certain films. Like back when I was younger, I watched Watership Down.
Oh wow. We need to do
that. That's a great film.
We need to do Watership Down sometime.
Yeah, good.
It's class.
Good film. Yeah, I love that film. My missus isn't really much of a cartoon person, but I'm pretty sure we watched that and she really enjoyed it. So, which is strange because for me, it doesn't matter about the medium as long as the film itself is good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get all the Disney remakes. I'm like, why like spend millions remaking Lion King with and Aladdin and stuff with real people and animals? It exists already. Make something else.
Money.
Yeah, money.
That's the top and bottom, and none of them are as good as the originals, in my opinion. Even like my kids, my youngest is 11, would prefer the animated ones over the live action remakes. So it's not like they've got nostalgia for the older films like we would have. You know what I mean?
No.
But there you go. Is there any final thing you would like to say about Barbie?
I just suppose if you've not seen it and you think it's just going to be a silly, girly film that's going to preach feminism at you, yeah, it's not that bad. Give it a shot. It's not. It isn't particularly preachy, in my opinion, unless you're, of a certain mindset where you see everything is preachy to you. There's decent jokes in it. It's not as bad as you might have imagined.
Yeah, I'd agree. It like I wouldn't say it's preachy. It does have social commentary, but it's not like preaching at you. It's more. It's. I wouldn't say it's like really subtle, but it's kind of like it's not a particular one particular message. It's many messages that are,
There's a difference, isn't there, to laying it out there and letting you pick it as much of it as you want and beating you over the head with it. And I'd say this lays it out there to the degree that you could pick up a lot of stuff from it, or you could gloss over it and just watch the film and not take anything in. It's not pushed at you.
Yeah. It's an enjoyable film. I had a good laugh. There was many a moments I laughed in there at many different things. Like when she talks to the girl for the first time and she's like, oh, okay, Barbie. And then she rants and raves, and then at the end she's like, yeah, no, go away, you fascist.
Yeah,
like,
I love that.
It's brilliant. Yeah, it's fun. It is strange that Barbie became a real person, but I get the whole point of it. Obviously, the creator of Barbie was not the creator of Barbie, was an actress. But, like, I think Will Farrell, or Farrell, says, like, oh yeah, her ghost lives there, so I'm guessing the creator's dead for him to see the ghost of her lives on the floor.
I did think that was weird how it just came out of there. Oh yeah, the creator's ghost has a floor or an office in our 17th floor. You're like, that's weird. Just that he knows about it. Do you know what I mean? It's just casual. Like, oh yeah, there's a ghost in the office. Yeah, we all know. She's just down there.
But like, it mentions like, yeah, I made the Barbie doll after my daughter with all this and that. Her name was Barbara and that. And it's like, and she's like, yeah, but I'm supposed to be perfect. And it's like, well, no one's perfect. That's just the way things are. I was done for tax evasion and whatever else. So,
Yeah, I did like that. I do wonder what her estate thinks of it. Sort of existing survivors, if there is any, but...
No.
I mean, you never know. They might have ran it past them for...
Just in case, like...
are you offended as such? But
yeah, maybe not. Like with Dennis the Menace in the US, the creator based Dennis the Menace, the US Dennis the Menace, off his own son, and I don't think they got on.
oh wow,
I think they fell out quite badly.
it could have been worse. He could have named him Dennis the Cunt.
That would have been an interesting children's comic.
I always find the Dennis the Menace thing weird, that there's an English character called Dennis the Menace, and then there's this American character. It's bizarre.
It's bizarre, especially as they came out around the same time, didn't they? It was like a week or so between each of the original prints.
Yeah, I mean, we used to get the little American blonde-haired Dennis the Menace cartoons on British telly.
Yeah, but they just used to call it Dennis.
Yeah.
Not Dennis the Menace. So, there you go. Crazy. But when I've seen what I remember of Dennis the Menace, the American one, is the kid is not really a menace. It's more of he's more
accidental hijinks.
Yeah, whereas British Dennis the Menace, the kid is a dickhead.
Yeah.
An intentional tosser. Purposely going out of his way to ruin other people's lives.
He's basically a junior roadman, isn't he? They should have done a follow-up comic of him 10 years later where he got one of those little man bags full of weed on him and...
Yeah. Anyway, I think that's going to be us. I will say, if you haven't seen Barbie, check it out. We'll be back in a fortnight with another film. I'm not sure what that's going to be, but take care of yourselves. Thank you again for taking part, Kurt. It's been a pleasure.
More than welcome. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
And those mini fridges are so small. Mm-hmm. You can only fit a 6-pack in them, and the freezers are basically useless. To be honest, when I found out that patriarchy wasn't about horses, I lost interest anyway.
That's okay.